Okay, we can continue now. So our next topic is Semantic Interoperability Framework. Our presenter is going to be Aleksandar Tomcic, who's a teaching assistant at the Faculty of Science, University of Novi Sad, and also a software engineer at Whistler Foundation. Thank you, Aleksandar.
Thank you also for this introduction. I don't know if this is coincidence because I don't believe in it, but I'm also going to talk about graphs, but in some other areas when it can be used. Me 3 years ago accepted this job because they found out that I'm very good with graphs, and they said, do you want to continue researching in graphs in, let's say, production? And naive me said yes. That's the last time I said yes without thinking at least 10 seconds. But it turns out that everything is great, and I don't like tabular data, even if I'm machine learning enthusiastic, and my PhD thesis mostly is going to be about that, but I don't like tabular data, so this is why this is going to be interesting, and I hope so, for you also. So I accepted to work on this H2020 large-scale project, which lasts and still is going on. We are now in closing 6 or 7 months. I'm somehow, let's say, I'm not leader, but some people assume that I'm leader because most of the emails from work package 5 goes through me. There is nothing that can happen on work package 5 out of 12 that I am not aware of it. So that is one cool thing. And we are going to be pioneers in cross-domain semantic interoperability without centrally hosted facilitator leveraging SARF ontology. Is anyone familiar with SARF ontology? Well, we are going to present that also. That was my assumption because I met, let's say, a person who is mostly responsible for SARF, and she's from Italy but work in Netherlands. And when we try to ask her to work with us, and she said yes, it was very helpful for us. So we are going to large 7-continent, large-scale test cities, Portugal, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Greece, and France. Yes, I'm from Serbia, but we are not going actually to do what they do, because if that's the case, then I will be here with washing machine, dryer, or something else. So I think that will be funny for you to see me here with that. So why is this interoperability important? Well, most of this conference was about ML and energy, and European Commission about asking us to save energy, to be more green in terms of what you actually like to see. So this is our proposal. We have domain knowledge represented. We have knowledge graphs. Knowledge graphs was presented yesterday. Anyone heard of it? Well, it's not that complicated once you understand the basic abstract of it. We say we have a syntactic interoperability, one-to-many mapping, or something like semantic interoperability with reasoning and knowledge discovery. So the core of this is something we called knowledge engine. In its core, there is knowledge directory, and each machine, when I say machine, you don't need to be afraid of Skynet and everything. This machine talks to each other via smart connector through a knowledge directory, and each machine has its knowledge base. What I know and what I can provide to others, and what I can ask someone, and what I can give as an answer back. We are talking with a graph patterns, which is RDF triplets. So everyone knows who wrote Silmarillion. Yes. And you know how would you ask someone who doesn't know? Let's say I don't know who wrote Silmarillion. How would you assume that I will ask you? Anyone? Well, who wrote Silmarillion? Well, in these graph patterns, I will ask someone has written book, and book has name Silmarillion, which is very complex. You see, that is this triplets, we are talking about subject, predicate, and object in most of the cases. 2 weeks ago, colleague of mine want to have a digital twin of plant, and he wants to measure pental of each plant, and he asked me to write him these RDF triplets, this graph for how you should measure pental of each plant. And I wrote him that in 6 or 7 rows. He asked me, he didn't tell me, never mind, we will find out some other solution. But then his project officer told him that he must use it. So that is funny part of that. So why is this, let's say, useful? We are all familiar with Celsius here, temperature of Celsius, or Kelvin physics for last session. And how many of you know in time what is now temperature of Celsius? Let's say it's 12, 13. And if someone asks you how much it is Fahrenheit, and you know how is it Celsius, but you, let's say you ask, well, with this knowledge directory, smart connector knowledge base, you can have answer immediately. With my graph pattern, I say that my measurement has, well, I will not tell you that graph pattern now or that RDF triplet how to ask for the temperature, but I'm, let's say, here, and I'm asking someone what is temperature in Fahrenheit. But this one here, he knows what's the temperature, but knows what is in Fahrenheit. And what is actually does, knowledge directory will bring me back answer in Celsius. Yes, that is one small example. Let's say you have a light and you have API for the light. You can now, every smart home has some application when you can turn the light on and off. Yes, and one day I buy a new light which now maps through API with 1 and 0, true and false. It's the same thing, yes, but my application doesn't know that it's the same thing. But if my application talks Saref, and if that light also has its own ontology, own triplets, I do not have to buy another application or anything. I can just say I turn that light on. But there is a problem with that. Anyone has an idea what can be the problem with this light? It's a small example, the first example that we had on this project, but immediately there was a good question why that might not work. Dimmable light with a roll. And yeah, where to put the line? What is on? What is off? What is true? What is it? 20%? It is 0, and everything greater than 0 is true. So, and then we came to the reasoning. Maybe machine can decide what is good, what is me, decide on my preference. And yes, this knowledge engine is all that working about that I talk. So we will come back to that. Here in levels of iterability, we are really focusing just on 3 and 4. We need to understand the concept of the message in data structures. We have to know that I ask who wrote Similarium. I'm sorry with the Similarium, but that is what I'm reading when I'm traveling these days. So, and I need to travel to this. So this is the first book that comes to my mind. And of course, interoperability, understand the data structure. Well, for someone like me who can understand the graphs, it was easy, but for someone, maybe not, and that is also okay. So what is the role of tautologies? And that is what I'm talking, or I'm sure that I'm talking. Define the common data knowledge representation in different stakeholders to interrupt. We are talking now about small examples, small use cases and everything, and on some slides you will see some large graph pattern, and I'm hoping that I will not scare you with that, because then there is interesting part on the end. I hope it is interesting. So we are extending this Saref. So Saref is one way to describe ontology, and like everything that is open source representing, we do not need everything, but there is some part that was missing. Because let's say we have these 112 use cases, 66 services and everything, 21 interconnect partners. I think it is now even more based on 166 APIs, and each of that API needs to be certified, and well, if it's done, then we will not get this proposal from the European Commission. So we want machine to can talk to each other, but here on an energy level, because European Commission wants us to save energy. So this is SAREF, and mostly we are talking about energy, building, city, and I think that's water, but water comes to the end. So I can represent water in ontology, I can represent water in graph. I can represent energy, I can represent building. Well, how do you think that I can represent building? Well, I can say building, a city has a building, building has a type has, I don't know what else. It can be anything that comes to your mind. And yes, city is some part of building, energy, and everything. So this is our ontology, and we want it to be public. It is public, some part of it, because we want to make sure that it is okay to use it, and we want to make sure that everyone understands it. Or at the first point, everyone at the project can understand it. So this is how we see it. Let's say SAREF is here our baseline point, and we have user preferences. I mentioned yours. Reuses topology, extends SAREF, or reuses time ontology, or something like that. So this is everything behind all of it. So I have interconnect point, I have service 1, service 2. On the other side, I have service 3 or service 4. Right now, there is a building in Netherlands, and every machine talks SAREF, and every machine can be interoperable in some manner, and we have some supporting services for system administration. Right now, that's a human. Right now, that's most probably me. And yes, and what is also good with that, you learn other languages. My English is not that good, but trust me, my Dutch is perfect because of that building, because I need to learn Dutch because of that building. So I hope that this animation will work. So this is it. We have knowledge engine with its knowledge directory. I have generic adapter. I have a digital platform here. I have one digital platform here. We have peer-to-peer marketplace, which is also, well, everyone now talking about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and everything. So let's put it here, and everyone will be amused with it. And we have a service store. So what I'm actually doing here, I'm exchanging data through one service to one other service. Mostly, I'm trading energy. We will come to the use cases where it can happen. So knowledge dissemination. I have my service. I have my washing machine and whatsoever. I have service-specific adapter. That is SSA. So I have adapter which represents that washing machine. I have a smart connector which is attached to that, and I have graph pattern or graph patterns for that machine in terms of what I want to do. On the other side, I can have energy system or I can have, I don't know, my mobile phone or something else. Maybe I cannot get why, I don't know, my switch light wants to talk with dryer, but maybe someone else do. And in middle, there is semantic interoperability framework. And yeah, this is one graph pattern which mostly tell us about every machine in my home that has starting point and end point of working hours. But right now it's not talking about energy and everything else that is beyond that. So I'm asking, someone is answering, I'm posting, and someone is reacting. So on the other hand, then On the other side, there needs to be a machine which has that same graph pattern, same in terms of isomorphic graph. We know that NP problem, it's not union complete, or it is, maybe. I didn't read Millennium's problems lately, so maybe someone solved it. So we are talking about other problem, and that is isomorphic. So, but when put ontology in that, our computation time comes less needed. So the other thing, maybe I just decide to remove this line. And where is smart things going in our data, we have reasoning, and my machine can assume that I do it on purpose, but I actually don't need it, and I don't want my data back. So maybe on edge computing, I don't have enough memory to collect that data also, so I'm only need when I don't know start time or end time. So interoperability in practice. User interaction. I'm at work, I have my application, I don't need to be at home, and I want my washing machine to finish its work at 7 a.m. Well, I'm doing third shift sometimes. So, and somehow, this is dummy example, okay, then start at 9 p.m. I don't know, maybe it's energy saving or something. And this is machine to interaction because, okay, this is not machine, but someone is offering me some data of kilobytes that if I do it in this time frame, I will save most of the money and most of the energy. With this energy management system, I know that someone is asking for the kilobytes, someone can deliver, someone always can deliver, and this is machine-to-machine interaction. So I send the data, he asks if someone is offering me energy from my ecosystem and can do it with the graph. And my machine will actually finish at 7 a.m. I can provide you a YouTube link when everything is done. Maybe some noise in background on that YouTube link, but everything is working with. And I can send that task to any machine. So I have energy management service, I have SARF data for that, I have my mobile, I have my washing machine or dryer, I have cloud, I have a service, and through semantic interoperability framework, they're communicating. And there, one example, I said the example with light. Miele, Whirlpool, Bosch, whatever, I don't want to make any commercial to anyone, but this is, I do not see how Miele and Whirlpool start working together and say we all want to use the same data. That is where SARF comes to, well, I know what Miele machine can do, I know what Whirlpool machine can do, I know what Bosch machine can do, I can represent all of them in graph and they can talk to each other. Let's say when Miele machine finish, start the Whirlpool machine. Whatever is Whirlpool machine, not to be washing machine or dry machine or whatsoever on that part. So basically, I want everyone to be able to talk to each other without knowing who is that, or is it from my ecosystem. I don't know, maybe some of you are Apple users, and we all know that Apple machine can talk to Apple machine almost instantly. But put some other brands, I don't know, I will not say whatever, and you will have most of the problem. I know one people who got angry and smashed its TV because it didn't want to connect with his iPhone. Well, iPhone will be easier to break, but TV is more important, at least to me. So, yes, and this is when the funny parts start. And if you want to know more about that, and if you are in energy domain or have energy application, you can sign up for our second open call. This is the link. I didn't put the QR code because I noticed that there is some troubles with the QR code on this conference with users from Samsung to Huawei through Apple and so on. So that is something that came up, so I just put a link. I know that you will receive. So it's this presentation. If you are in that domain, there is a lot of money talking about. So if you have something in mind that can be in energy domain and there is a good tutorial, maybe this is, I don't know, too much data and too much information one time, but there is a good tutorial on everything, and mostly you will be in touch with someone, most probably me, or I will forward to someone if I'm too busy or my queue with email is too much. And if you are in an energy domain, feel free, do not hesitate to ask anything. Feel free to apply. There is a good chance that you will be accepted if you are something innovative. So let's talk in that. So thank you all. Yes, this deadline is not correct, but it's for the previous presentation. Thank you. So any questions?
Hello, first of all, thank you very much. And second of all, I won't pretend that I understood a lot of the aspects of the presentation.
No, my colleague also, he said, I'm giving up, like he said, and then he now must understand it. So that is why I came to Zagreb, not to have to listen to him.
Well, in general, if I understood correctly, it has like a noble purpose, and it's, considering the climate changes and energy, savings.
It's Europe. So
yeah. So I was wondering, you said that you are working in Netherlands. So
no, I'm not. I'm working with the Netherlands, with the Dutch people.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is because how much of the physical infrastructure in the country has to be met for your for your work to be applicable? For instance, in Serbia, in Bosnia, in Croatia, does it depend on what is happening?
Yes.
On
Yes.
So it's not.
It's a lot of paperwork and everything. Yeah. I know that some countries didn't have because their policy and everything. Even if they're in European, if they're in Schengen zone or whatsoever, and some country did and some country didn't because with its own law. Because some countries do not accept blockchain, and that can be easy. I know Serbia from something do not allow blockchain on some domains. So,
okay, do we have any more
if
questions?
you are interested, feel free to contact me, and maybe I can find you information about that. And feel free, and let's say that you do not have to read 50,000 papers and everything.
Any other question? Okay, if not, I want to thank Aleksandar for being
thank
part
you.
of Data Science Conference.